I need to be honest about what went through my mind over the next 3 days. Part of me wanted to tell him no, wanted him to feel even a fraction of what I felt when he left, wanted him to know what it's like to be abandoned by the person who's supposed to love you unconditionally. Part of me wanted revenge. But another part of me, the part that still remembered riding bikes with my dad at 7 years old, the part that had spent 15 years grieving the father I lost, that part felt something else. Not forgiveness, but maybe curiosity. I talked to my girlfriend, Sophie. I told her everything. She listened without judgment. Then she said, "What do you want?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Do you want him in your life?" I said, "I want the dad I had when I was 8, but that person doesn't exist anymore." She said, "So the question is, do you want to know the person he is now?" I thought about that. I called my mom, told her about the phone call. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Ethan, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will say this. Your father made choices that hurt you deeply. Helping him now doesn't erase that hurt. And you don't owe him anything just because he's your father." "I know," I said. She said, "But I also know you. And I know you'll always wonder what if unless you see this through. So whatever you decide, I support you." I called my therapist, had an emergency session. We talked through my options. She said, "If you let him stay with you, it needs to be on your terms, with boundaries, with clear expectations. This isn't about rescuing him. This is about deciding if you want a relationship with him." I made my decision. I called him back 3 days after his initial call. I said, "I'll let you stay with me, temporarily, but there are conditions." He said immediately, "Anything. Thank you so much." I said, "Let me finish. You can stay for 60 days, 2 months. That gives you time to find a job, save money, and find your own place. You will pay me $400 a month for rent. You will do your own laundry, buy your own food, and clean up after yourself. You are a tenant, not a guest." "Okay," he said. I said, "More importantly, we are going to talk, really talk about what happened, about why you left, about the 15 years you were absent. You don't get to pretend the past didn't happen. If you want any kind of relationship with me, you have to face what you did." He was quiet. Then he said, "I understand, and I'm ready to do that." I said, "And if at any point I feel like this isn't working, you leave. No arguments, no guilt trips. You leave." "I agree," he said. I said, "You can move in next weekend. I'll send you the address." After I hung up, I sat on my couch for a long time, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. My father moved into my spare bedroom on a Saturday afternoon. He showed up with 2 suitcases and a box. That was everything he had. He looked older than I remembered. 52 years old, but he looked 60. Tired, worn down, broken. We shook hands at the door. It felt absurd, shaking hands with your father like he's a stranger. But that's what he was. A stranger who happened to share my DNA. The first week was awkward. We moved around each other carefully, polite, distant. He went to job interviews, I went to work. We'd eat dinner at the same table in silence. Sophie came over that first week. She met him briefly. After he went to his room, she said, "This is so weird." "I know," I said. She said, "How are you doing?" "I don't know," I said. "It's like having a roommate who used to be my dad." Week 2, we started talking. Small stuff at first. How was the job search going? What he was watching on TV? Surface level. Week 3, I started asking real questions. One evening, we were both in the living room. I said, "Dad, I need to ask you something." He looked up, nervous. I said, "Why did you stop calling? Not at the beginning, but later, when I was 17, 18. Why did you just stop?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Because it was easier." Easier than what? Easier than facing what I'd done. Every time I called you, I heard how hurt you were. I felt how much I failed you. And it was easier to just not call, to pretend you were okay without me. I said I wasn't okay without you. His eyes filled with tears. He said, "I know, and I knew it then too. But I was a coward. I chose the easy path. I chose the family that made me feel like a hero. I told myself I was saving her kids, giving them a father. And with you, I just felt like I had already failed, like you'd always see me as the dad who left. So I leaned into the place where I felt successful." I sat with that. I said, "You were successful with me too, until you left." "I know. God, Ethan, I know." Week 4, he got a job. Warehouse work. Not glamorous, but it was income. Week 5, we had our first real fight. He made a comment about how I should call my mom more. I snapped. I said, "Don't you dare give me parenting advice. You have no idea what my relationship with Mom is like because you weren't there to see it." He backed off immediately. He said, "You're right. I'm sorry." Week 6, I asked him about Vanessa, about the kids he'd raised. He said, "I loved those kids, I really did. I raised them for 15 years, coached their teams, helped with homework, walked Vanessa's daughter down the aisle at her wedding." I said, "Did you tell them about me?" He looked down. He said, "Sometimes, not often." I said, "Did they know you had a son you didn't see?" He said, "They knew. They didn't understand, but they knew." Week 7, he showed me photos of Vanessa's kids as adults, happy, successful, living their lives. He said, "They don't talk to me anymore." After the divorce, Vanessa told them things about me, true things, about how I treated you, about the child support I fell behind on, about the lies I'd told. They were disgusted with me. I said, "So you lost them too?" He nodded. He said, "I lost everyone because of the choices I made." Week 8, the 60 days were almost up. I said, "Have you found a place?" He said, "I'm looking at a few apartments. Should have something by the end of the month." I nodded. I said, "Dad, I need to ask you something." "Anything," he said. I said, "Do you want a relationship with me, a real one, or did you just need a place to stay?" He looked at me. He said, "I want to be your father again, if you'll let me. Not the father I was when you were 8. I can't go back. But a father now, whatever that looks like." I said, "I don't know what that looks like either." He said, "Maybe we can figure it out together." My father moved out of my apartment 3 weeks ago. He has his own place now, a small studio. He's still working at the warehouse, saving money, building a life. We talk once a week, sometimes on the phone, sometimes he comes over for dinner. It's not perfect. It's not healed. It probably never will be completely healed. But it's something. If you're listening to this and you have a parent who abandoned you, who chose someone else over you, who erased you from their life, I want to say this clearly. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe them a place to stay. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them a relationship. I chose to let my father back in, but I did it on my terms, with boundaries, with honesty, with the full understanding that he doesn't get to erase 15 years of abandonment just because he needs something now. Some people will say I'm too soft, that I should have turned him away, that he doesn't deserve a second chance. Other people will say I'm too hard, that he's my father and I should forgive and forget. But here's what I learned. There is no right answer. There's only the answer that lets you sleep at night.
My father destroyed our relationship through 1,000 small choices. He chose comfort over courage. He chose the family that made him feel good over the son who made him feel guilty. He lost everything because of those choices. His second marriage, his stepkids, his financial stability, his dignity. When he showed up at my door, broken and desperate, I had a choice. I chose to let him in, not because he deserved it, but because I needed to know if there was anything worth saving. The answer? I still don't know completely, but I know this. The father I had when I was 8 is gone. That person doesn't exist anymore. The man who stayed in my spare bedroom for 60 days is someone different, older, broken, humbled. And maybe that person is someone I can...
There is a phone call that every abandoned child imagines receiving one day. The call where the parent who left finally comes back, where they apologize, where they admit they were wrong, where they beg for forgiveness. You imagine what you'll say, how you'll respond, whether you'll be cruel or kind, whether you'll take them back or turn them away. I spent 15 years imagining that phone call, and 3 months ago, it finally came. My name is Ethan. I'm 27 years old, and when I was 12 years old, my father walked out of my life to start a new family with a woman who already had 2 kids of her own. For 15 years, I was the son he left behind, the child from his first life, the mistake he was trying to forget. He built a new life, new wife, new children, new house, new everything. And I became a ghost, a memory he visited twice a year on birthdays and Christmas, until even those visits stopped. I thought that was the end of the story, but then his new wife left him, took the kids, took the house, took everything. And suddenly, after 15 years of silence, my father remembered he had a son. The son he abandoned, the son he replaced, the son he forgot existed. Stay with me, because what happened when my father showed up at my door with nowhere else to go is something I still think about every single day. This is not a story with easy answers. This is a story about what you owe to someone who gave you life but chose not to be in it. I need to tell you about my father before he left, so you understand what I lost. His name is Michael Carson. He was a good dad when I was young, really good. He taught me to ride a bike, came to my soccer games, helped me with homework, read to me before bed, all the things good fathers do. My parents' marriage was never perfect. They argued, they grew apart. I understand that now. Divorce happens. I don't blame him for that. I blame him for what came after. My parents divorced when I was 11. Standard custody arrangement, week with mom, week with dad, holidays split. It wasn't ideal, but it was okay. I was handling it. Kids are resilient. We adapt. Then, 6 months after the divorce, my dad met Vanessa. Vanessa was a divorced mother of 2, a daughter who was 13 and a son who was 9. Both are younger than me by a bit, and both need a father figure. My dad fell hard, really hard. Within 3 months, he moved in with her. Within 6 months, he married her. I was 12 years old, and suddenly I had a stepmom and 2 step-siblings I barely knew. At first, my dad tried to keep things balanced. He'd have his weeks with me, as the custody agreement said. He'd try to blend the families. But something shifted. Slowly, then all at once. Vanessa's kids needed more attention, he said. They were struggling with a divorce. They needed stability. Could I be flexible about the custody schedule? Could I stay with my mom a little longer so he could focus on getting the new family settled? I said yes,
because I wanted him to be happy, because I loved him. The weeks became every other week, then twice a month, then once a month. He missed my 13th birthday because it was Vanessa's daughter's dance recital. He missed my 8th grade graduation because they were on a family vacation. Family vacation that I wasn't invited to because it was just their immediate family. I wasn't part of the immediate family anymore. When I was 14, my dad sat me down. He said he and Vanessa had decided to move to a different state. His company had an opportunity there. Better job, better life for the kids. The kids, not us, not including me, the kids, Vanessa's kids. I said, "What about me? What about our custody agreement?" He said, "You'll stay with your mom. We'll visit. You can come stay with us during the summer and holidays." I felt something crack inside me that day. I said, "You're leaving me?" He got defensive. He said, "I'm not leaving you. I'm 2 hours away. That's not leaving." But it was. We both knew it. They moved 3 weeks later. I want you to understand how someone disappears from your life slowly, because it's not dramatic. It's not a single moment. It's 1,000 small moments that add up to absence. The summer after they moved, I was supposed to visit for 6 weeks. I went for 3. My dad said there was a family emergency. Vanessa's son was having trouble adjusting. They needed space. I came home early to my mom's house. I didn't tell her why. I was embarrassed. That Christmas that year, I was supposed to spend a week with them. I spent 3 days. My dad drove me to the bus station on the morning of the 26th. He said they had plans as a family. He said I'd understand when I was older. I was 15 years old, taking a bus home alone on December 26th because my dad had family plans that didn't include me. On my 16th birthday, he sent a card with a $100 check. He didn't call. When I was 17, I stopped reaching out. I figured if he wanted to talk to me, he had my number. He didn't call. I graduated from high school. He wasn't there. He sent a text that said, "Congrats, son. Proud of you." I started college. He didn't help financially, didn't offer. My mom and I took out loans. I worked part-time. I figured it out. I heard about his life through social media. Pictures of him with Vanessa and her kids, vacations, holidays, birthdays, new house, new cars, new life. A life I wasn't in. I thought about him constantly, wondered what I had done wrong, wondered if I'd been a better son, a more interesting kid, a less complicated reminder of his first marriage. Maybe he would have kept me. I went to therapy at 19, worked through the abandonment, learned that it wasn't about me, that his choices were his, not a reflection of my worth. I built a life, got my degree in computer science, got a good job, moved to a city 3 hours from where I grew up, started dating someone seriously, built friendships, created a chosen family. I didn't need him anymore, or so I told myself. I was 26 years old when I got a message from him on Facebook. "Hey, son, it's been too long. We should catch up sometime." I stared at that message for 3 days. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, he sent another one. "Ethan, I'd really like to talk. Please call me." I didn't. I thought that was the end of it, that he'd tried, I declined, and we could both move on with our separate lives. But then, 3 months ago, everything changed. It was a Tuesday evening. I was at my apartment making dinner when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. A man's voice, older than I remembered, shaky. He said, "Ethan?" I knew immediately. Even though I hadn't heard his voice in person in over 10 years, I knew. I said, "Dad?" "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, it's me." Long silence. I didn't help him. I just waited. He said, "I know I have no right to call you. I know it's been too long, but I need to talk to you about something. Can we meet? I said, What's going on? Another pause. Then he said, Vanessa left me 6 months ago. She took the kids, filed for divorce. She's getting the house. I don't have anywhere to go. I stood in my kitchen holding the phone, processing what I was hearing. My father, who had left me to build a life with Vanessa and her kids, was calling me because Vanessa had left him. I said, carefully, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not sure why you're calling me. His voice cracked. He said, Because you're my son, and I made a terrible mistake, and I need help. I said, You need help? Yes. I said, Where were you when I needed help? When I was 15 taking a bus home alone on Christmas? When I was 17 and stopped hearing from you completely? When I graduated from college, you didn't even send a card. Ethan, I know I messed up, but I'm asking for a chance to make it right. I said, What kind of help are you asking for? He cleared his throat. He said, I need a place to stay, temporarily, just until I get back on my feet. The divorce settlement left me with almost nothing. I'm staying with a friend, but I can't stay there longer. I laughed, actually laughed, a bitter, empty sound. I said, You want to stay with me after 15 years? He said, Please, I have nowhere else to go. You're the only family I have left. I'm the only family you have left? I repeated, because the family you chose over me didn't work out.